How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. We are live, changing it up this evening from our usual coverage this week, and we are live with Phil Chalmers, criminal profiler, author, and the man who talks to serial killers. And we have got the new Ed Gein coming to Netflix, and I had to take the opportunity to get my good friend Phil to come and join us and talk about it. Oh, hang on, Ron has got that playing. So, Phil, listen, before we jump into Ed Gein, let's set the stage for who you are, right? And what it is you do, because it's, oh, no, that's the wrong thing. Ron's pushing the wrong buttons. Hang on. There we go. Yeah. So, welcome, Phil, first of all. Tell everybody who you are, introduce yourself. Most people will know exactly who you are, but for those who don't, give us a little intro.
Most people don't know who I am. Phil Chalmers. I am a profiler, a criminologist, and I've been studying killers for 4 decades. This is year number 40. And in the last 20 years, I've been really focusing on serial murder. And I just released a book called Speaking Truth to Evil. And that book drops here. It's dropped a few weeks ago. It's available everywhere. And yeah, it's good to be here with Mr. Ron.
Awesome. Well, look, your website is up and running. The links are in the description. You can basically keep up to date with everything you're doing, your books, your tours, all that stuff, YouTube channel. And for those of you guys who do enjoy some true crime content, Phil and I have been working together for years. We've had a podcast, Serial Sunday, and I produced Phil's serial killer interview series. And it's the real deal. I mean, it's, you know, Todd Colehep's there, Chester Turner. There's a whole bunch of people, and it's next level when the true crime is coming from the individuals that, you know, committed the crime. Really, it's an in-depth look, and it was a great series to be working on. So, Phil,
well, I would say, you know, if people don't know who I am, honestly, I'm just an average guy. But one of the things I guess I do have that separates me from some people is that I don't just study serial killers. I don't just study juvenile killers or school shooters. I actually interview these people. So I have, I've forgotten a lot of the people I've interviewed over 40 years because I really just started keeping track of it in the last 10 or so. But yeah, I've already added 270 serial killers that I've interviewed. So I mean, probably
I remember when you sent me a list of all the people that you'd spoken to. I thought it was a joke. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's just endless scrolling. It's scrolling and it's scrolling and it's scrolling and it's scrolling. Because
I remember the big names. You never forget Manson and Berkowitz and BTK, but there's so many unknowns that I've talked to that, you know, they just get lost in the shuffle. So, but you know what? They're very important to me, and to interview as many of these people as you can. I think it helps you understand serial killers. So I don't know how people can do this, what I do, without actually interviewing serial killers. I mean, all you're doing is relying on other people's books and stuff. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like
my entire ethos with the predator catching was exactly that. I spoke to dozens and dozens of them on an encrypted network to learn tactics and how they would go around doing their dastardly deeds. And I completely relate to that. Now, I think one of the most fascinating things, Phil, is the myths, right? You've kind of blown our minds over the years with the myths, because if I tell the audience just now to close your eyes, imagine you're in America, the news has come on and it's an announcement of a new serial killer. There'll be a fairly standard pattern, but the majority of serial killers don't look like what we imagine in our minds. And take us through a little bit of that, Phil. Just sort of cover the sort of the 3 major myths of that, if you can.
Yeah. So John Douglas, Robert Ressler, Roy Hazelwood, the early FBI profilers from the show Mindhunter, they did an amazing job back in the 70s. And it's amazing to me that people still rely on that research, you know, 55 years later. And I try to explain to people that, you know, that was great research, but there's no way that still applies today. I mean, things move quickly here. So this book, Speaking Truth to Evil, is my book to not only update the research done by the early profilers from all the stuff I've gathered from serial killers, but also to dispel some of the myths, because it's weird. I'll be watching a TV show and the supposed expert is saying, they're quoting myths like, most serial killers are white males, or most serial killers kill women, or it's just crazy stuff. Most serial killers kill up close and personal. All those are not true. Those are myths, and I've got about 12 myths in my new book. The first one is most serial killers are not white. I should also preface, Ron, these are actually American serial killers.
Yeah, absolutely. Phil's whole arsenal is American serial killers. Absolutely.
Not from the U.S. You'll still learn some here, and we probably could apply some of it to other countries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the warning signs and things like this carry over and whatnot. But statistics are definitely not going to match up, if that makes sense. When it comes to
so today, let me give you. Ron want to know the top 3 myths. Number 1, most serial killers are black males in the United States. 60% are. Only 31% are white males. 8% Hispanic and 1% Asian. The second big myth is people think because most serial killers are male, 93% of serial killers are male, that they're killing females, and it's actually 50-50. So just as many men are being killed as women in America. So that's pretty wild, because you watch most TV shows, it's women being stalked and killed. And then the third big one is most serial killers kill by shooting and gunfire in the United States. And we've all heard about the DC snipers, and that's the common thing today. The majority of serial killers shoot people, and the next few are strangulation, stabbing, and bludgeoning and poisoning. But shooting is like, I don't know, it's like 40-something%. So it's pretty high. And we have a lot of that right now happening on a weekly basis in the U.S.
Yeah, it's all getting a bit wild out there, to be honest, Phil.
Yeah.
So, when the Dahmer series came out on Netflix, you and I fanboyed out a little bit as it was building up, right? Because the casting was so good. Like, as soon as you seen the trailer for it, and it was the same with Ed Gein. But you yourself have been quite a collector. In fact, passively, you've become a collector, because with your correspondence with hundreds and hundreds of these individuals, you've been sent a lot of artwork and memorabilia and things like this. And, this is one thing that is important for everyone, because, Phil, your end goal, listen, the winery, the museum, all of it, your end goal, and you're working towards a museum right now, but it's an interactive museum. It's an incredible concept. Let us know a little about it.
Yes. So I'm doing one final tour in the United States called my farewell tour in January, February, and March. And then in April, I'm kind of going to get off the road forever. And I'm opening a crime museum, Serial Killers, The Experience True Crime Museum. And we're going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is where it's going to open up. And we are excited about this. It's going to be my life's work in a museum. You will get to peruse some really cool stuff. Jeffrey Dahmer's eyeglasses. Here's an example. This is John Wayne Gacy's business card. I mean, that's pretty neat, right? Like, that's the business card he used when he was running PDM while he had kids in the basement, a crawl space. But it's artifacts, all the stuff I've been sent from all these people. And it'll be a one-of-a-kind experience for people that come. And we are so excited about it. We're going to have a wine bar, true crime store. We're thinking about doing a true crime trolley tour as well, go along with that. But we have lots of plans, lots of fun coming up here this spring.
Honestly, if I keep twisting Phil's arm and have my way, it's going to be a crazy, interactive, mad experience where you go into Dahmer's apartment and it's Dahmer that's giving you the information in the tour.
That is an amazing idea, by the way.
And you build it in the cubes so that it can all be flat packed and everything like that, bro. Yeah. I'm telling you,
If I was young again, somebody told me you need to take this on the road. And I was like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get off the road. Yeah. And if I was young again, I would pack this up and take it on the road, like the one in Europe right now, right?
It's not about taking it on the road. It's about thinking ahead of when you're making it bigger, right? And you have to move stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that's the way forward. I mean, that's the one, mate. But anyway, look, we're not here the business plan. So, I just want to bring the attention over to Ed Gein and how he's been portrayed on Netflix, right? every season they've done. I've not watched the one about the two brothers. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really understand the big massive deal about the two brothers or the Mendez brothers or anything like that. It
Never
completely,
watched. Yep.
it just.
I know.
To be honest with you, what was the name of the serial killer who was the clown? What was his name? Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah,
John Wayne
Gacy. Because during the Chalmers series, we got a clip of Gacy, and I mean it was a brutal clip. So we all sort of assumed the next thing to come would be that. But when you seen the announcement of Ed Gein being the next portrayal, what went through your mind? Because he is, and listen, when it's not right to say favorite, right? But he is definitely one of those more intriguing individuals.
One of the ones that one of my favorite cases to study, absolutely, because it's historical and it inspires one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Psycho, right? This is Norman Bates. This is the guy. Yeah. And so yeah, I love the case. I love to study the case. I think it's a fascinating case, especially since it's from the 50s. You know, it's an old case, and it's definitely one of the cases that I think we should definitely take a look at. Now, John Wayne Gacy is a good one too, and hopefully people are crying for Gacy to be the next monster. You know, the next one. I hope Gacy is next.
See, it's interesting, right? Because as you've educated me over the years, right, there was this golden era of serial killing, right, where there was no CCTV, no mobile phones. It was very much like the prime time for if you wanted to snatch someone off the street, someone else would have to be there in order to see it, you know? Yeah. And
70s, 1980s. Yep.
Yeah. And we often talk as well about how much dumb luck went into a lot of these cases. You know, brake lights being out, you know, random police stops, all this kind of stuff. But it was the 1950s, and he lived with his mother. Okay. And can you just tell us a little bit about the background of Ed Gein before we go into the realities of this man, his life, his crimes, and what really sets him apart from not just humanity, but other monsters, Phil? So take us through the early years of your.
The case is so wild. I'm kind of speechless about the case because it's an unbelievable case. And, you know, after you watch the movie Psycho, so all of you listeners and watchers, if you've never watched the 1960 Hitchcock film Psycho, don't watch the new version with what's that guy's name that plays the new version of Psycho? What's his name?
Do you know, I never even paid any attention to some things. It's like when someone does a cover of a Beatles song. You know what I'm saying? Some things you just don't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, who played Norman Bates on the new? There's a new Psycho. Anyways, watch the original Psycho. What's that? Oh shit! I hope you look it up for me. So watch the original 1960 Psycho, and you're like, oh my gosh, Norman Bates, the guy has mommy issues, right? Like he's got issues with his mommy. And then you study the Ed Gein case, you're like, holy shit, this is the case. This is where this all comes from. And so Ed Gein had an alcoholic father. Yeah, he had a religious, overzealous religious mother, and the mother dominated the father and dominated the boys and kind of kept them. So they moved out of lacrosse. They moved to Plainfield. They were trying to get away from society and keeping the two boys away from women and sin and lust and all this stuff. And she pounded into Ed Gein that, you know, women were bad, sin is bad, you know, sex is bad and all this stuff. And it really had a profound effect on him. So they moved to the middle of nowhere, Plainfield, Wisconsin. So if you're not from the US, this is literally, you know, take a right where nowhere, and you're going to go even further from the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And that's where they end up. And you know, they're struggling, trying to do a farm. The farm's not going well. It's just a really awkward thing. So the dad dies. He's an alcoholic, so he dies of like cancer and alcoholism. And then the brother dies suspiciously in a fire. Some people think Ed Gein killed his brother. And then the next year, his mother dies, right? So that's the house they live in. And now Ed Gein is alone. He's lost his mother. Now they think he killed his brother just to be alone with his mother. But then things get wild with Ed Gein. So his mother died. Let me see. His mother died in 1945. He's 39 years old. Imagine this guy who's not around any of society. He's probably never had a girlfriend. I doubt it. And it's 1945. He's 39 years old. His mother dies, and now he's alone in this farmhouse. And here's his jobs. This is crazy. He's a babysitter, and he does odd jobs for people. So he starts grave robbing in 1947. So 2 years later, after his mother dies, he starts grave robbing. And they figured this out. Like, they know the women who he grave robbed. He would go into the graveyards at night. He would dig up a woman who just died. He would watch the obituaries, and if a woman just died or a child died, like a teenage girl, he would dig up the grave, and sometimes he would take the body back to his house, take what he wanted out of the body, and then he would return the body and bury it, and people would never know. And towards the end there, he just kept the whole body. And he did that for many years, and he started killing in 1954. So at the age of 48, he becomes a serial killer. As maybe you don't know this, if you don't know this, the new definition of serial murder in the United States by the FBI is 2 or more. So he kills 2 people. In 1954, he kills Mary Hogan. In 1957, he kills Bernice Worden. So he ends up... I guess he gets tired of the corpses and he wants real people. So he starts a killing spree. And the first woman was a lady that owned a bar, a pub. And he ends up killing her, and she looks a lot like his mother. He kills her, shoots her, puts her on a sled and drags her back to his farm, cuts her up with an axe, and uses her body parts for different things. He makes bowls out of her skull. He makes chairs out of her skin. And all the women he got out of the grave and the women he killed, he kept their faces, and he made masks, and he would put stuff into the mask where he could like hang it on the wall. He would put like twine on the ears, and he would hang it on the wall. Then he killed Bernice Worden, was the lady that owned the hardware store in town, and he shot her in the head, loaded her up in the truck, took her home. And he had her strung up upside down with no head like a deer. It was really, really, anybody can Google that image, Bernice Worden, Ed Gein online, and you can see the image. It's very graphic. It's actually very horrific. And fortunately, he was arrested the day he killed Bernice Worden. So the day he killed Bernice Worden, that day, they caught him at a friend's house. They took him into custody. They found her body. And there's a lot of things they found in his house, and then there's some things that are rumors and like they're myths. But he did find bowls and boxes full of vaginas and vulvas and noses and ears. He did make furniture, and he did make bowls and stuff like that. Now, what he didn't do, the myth is he did not have a belt made out of nipples. That's not true. And he did not have a lampshade made out of human skin because, quite frankly, there were no lamps. There was no electricity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I mean that is a lot of the mythology, is that the place was full of lamps, and of course the belt and all the rest of it. And I mean, there's places you can go right now that obviously it's cow leather, right? But they mimic a lot of these serial killer crafts, if you will. But
also, Ron, this is very important to know this for your viewers. Once they kind of had all the evidence, they photographed it, and they set everything on fire. They burned everything, right? So if anybody says I have something from the Ed Gein farmhouse or
wow, okay,
all that stuff is gone. So there is none of that left. A lot of people go. What happened then is the house caught on fire. People actually set his house on fire because it was going to be a tourist site, and they bulldozed it. Now, a lot of people will go back to the property, and I have some friends who do this, and find pieces from the farmhouse that are Ed Gein's things, right?
Okay.
And we have several of those pieces in my museum. I'm not going to give anything away right now, but
sure,
you're going to die when you come
Well, I
to
mean, I
these,
imagine, right? I imagine right. I imagine anything that's
when you see our
metal,
exhibit, you're going to
you'll lose your
die.
mind. Yeah, I'm excited. And again, the mindset of this man, what the movies he's inspired, because it's Psycho, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's Buffalo Bill from
Yes.
Silence of the
Sounds good.
Lambs.
Yeah.
And making a jacket out of a person, right? Making anything out of a person it's pretty out there, you know.
Well,
And
he would make masks, and he would, like, you're right, Ron. He made a full body suit that would go all the way down from his, from his neck down to his genitals, and he would have
yeah,
breasts. This is all from a woman. Now he's putting this on, and it's you're going to see it in the in 2 weeks on Netflix. Him parading around in the moonlight with a mask and a bodysuit. That is totally 100% real.
I mean, here's this is the second trailer, Phil, right?
Yeah,
So
you're going to see it. Yeah, watch the trailer.
yeah, the I see. I'm concerned that we get copyright struck, right? So I'm going to play little bits, but the
Yeah.
first trailer, right, the teaser, sort of
Yeah.
introduced us to the horrors of Ed Gein, right? I'll play it without any sound and see how we get on.
Yeah.
You'll see as we come in here, because
I mean, the house looks real too in the movie. It looks great. It looks great in the show.
I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as you see this, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
oh my god. And we get a little, see, there we go. So they're already lying to us, Phil. Okay, they're already lying to us, because there's a lamp. There's a goddamn lampshade right there. Okay, this is inaccurate. So it pans through, but then of course we get to see the moment. I mean, look at the background. You see that background? We've got literally the torso, the legs.
Yep.
You're getting, and this magazine as well seems to pop up every now and again during the golden era of serial killers.
What they're going to do, what they're going to talk about there, Ron, is he was into those detective magazines, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you, especially younger folks, right now we have internet porn, Pornhub, stuff like that. Before that, we had porn magazines like Playboy, Penthouse, Playgirl. But before that were these detective magazines. I'm going to have a bunch of those in my museum. And these magazines inspire Ed Gein, Ted Bundy, BTK, a lot of guys like that who found these magazines. And old Eddie Gein, was fascinated with the stories of, people from other countries that did stuff with skulls and shrunken heads. He was into that shit. That directly inspired him to do this.
And the way that they done Dahmer, people were disappointed that it wasn't the horrific glorification gore fest that most people assumed it would be. Yeah. And that was the one thing I loved about it. It gave us I think it was the very last victim, the one that escaped, and possibly one other victim. It gave us enough so that we understood the absolute madness of this man. And then we started to learn about who he was, about his family, about his upbringing. And Netflix was criticized for that as well, by saying that they were trying to gain sympathy and to change the mindset of these killers. But that's the fascinating part, is to see what was the foundation, the catalysts and things like this for these mindsets. And, here's another image from the trailer where he's standing outside with a chainsaw. And when we talk about...
I thought the chainsaw thing was kind of weird. By the way, you talked about Dahmer. Tracy Edwards is the last victim who escaped. And just for you viewers, Tracy Edwards just got arrested for murder himself.
Wow. Do you know what type of murder it was?
I don't, but I know he's in prison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's old Eddie wearing a mask right there.
I think you might need to start getting in touch with that.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah.
That would be breaking the internet, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one. But his mother, this is clearly his mother's face that he's wearing, his mother's dress, as symbolized by what she was wearing previously in the trailer. How true to life is his obsession with his mother's corpse?
Well, I don't think anything of anything of this is his mother's. I think his mother was buried, and I think he wanted to be his mother. I think there was some mental illness thing there where he thought he would be his mother, wearing clothing like that, wearing a face mask.
Okay.
Wearing
So it's not so much her, but an effigy of her with the clothes. Okay, I'm with you.
He wanted to be her though. Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. Because what we get in the second trailer, right, is we start getting scenes like this where we can see the shaming, right, of him in front of his mother.
Yeah.
You start hearing the way she speaks to him, and we then have a moment where she seems to be just lying on a table. I don't know if that's another person who's dressed up like his mother. It's another person. Okay. Yeah. And then there's a scene where he's got a young woman in a basement, right, and she's chained up to a chair. And then he wheels in another victim that's dressed like his mother, and then does the voice for her. How accurate are these games?
I don't think that's. I've never heard.
You don't think that's? You don't think that's? Okay, that's fine. Well, this is why I wanted to do this, because I know how well you know this case. Now, during the 1950s, right? Burning down the house, getting rid of it all. It seemed to be that would be the mindset, right? Because it's in the middle of nowhere. You know what's going to happen to it.
They wanted to end this story, and Plainfield would be a normal town again. Yeah.
Right. And that tends to be how it goes with small town stories. And obviously this is like a closed case. But do you not sometimes feel like that quick to just bury the situation can lead to miscarriages of justice, or people rushing into crimes too far? I mean, it must have done during that period. But with people like Ed Gein, the grave robbing and all of that, I mean, what would you estimate that is total body count of not just victims that he's brought in, but also individuals he's dug up? I mean, what would you estimate it?
I think their estimation was 10 to 12 bodies dug up and 2 homicide victims. Possibly his brother would be 3. But I think they found like 12 or 13 bodies in his house. Now, when they initially showed up, they thought he had killed 13 people. So then they started looking like who's been missing from this area, for the last 10 years. And they came up with about 6 people that were missing: men, women, young kids. And they kind of felt like he didn't kill those people. Like they kind of cleared him of those cases. It's funny about Ed Gein, even though he claimed to be mentally ill and he went to Mendota, mental hospital for the rest of his life, he kind of knew enough to know not to ever confess to any homicide. So he never confessed to any homicides. He finally said he did kill Bernice Warden because she's hanging in his summer kitchen.
You can't deny that one very easily.
Where she is. And then they find Mary Hogan's head in a sack in his house. They're like, the one cop said, that's Mary Hogan's face. But he never confessed to any of the murders, and they kind of felt like he didn't kill anybody else. But he had made a statement. If you listen to his statement, he made a statement where he said, I went to the, I can't remember the exact number, Ron, but he said I went to the cemetery, I'm going to say 18, 24 times, and 12 times I brought something back with me. And that's kind of what he said, a statement he made. So I think they found, like, if I remember correctly, 13 bodies when they looked at the house. They realized that 2 of them were actually homicide victims, and the other 11 were taking from, that they found like 11 noses, or they found 11 ears, or
I'm with
11
you.
vulva.
Do you think during that period the police would have rather admitted to less victims than more victims? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, less effort.
The police were trying to pin him on all these. The police initially wanted to pin all these unsolved murders on him because that's kind of what I guess they would probably do today. Let's close some cases, right? They tried to pin all these cases on him, and he wouldn't talk. So they had to resort to looking at evidence, and they said there just wasn't no evidence that he did this.
And listen, that might sound crazy to a lot of people. A guy that is made, items out of people. He's got heads and faces and all this stuff. But when I interviewed a guy called Nico Klaus, and he was the vampire of Paris. Yep. And when the police raided his house, he'd been grave robbing for years. So he had arms and teeth and bones
Wow.
everywhere. And they thought these were all victims, when they went into the house.
Right.
And he was somebody else that has a fascination with Dahmer and Ed Gein. And, it takes a special kind of person to skin someone and, keep them, I don't know how prolonging his torture methods were or whatever, but I can't imagine any of it would have been going with dignity or grace, if you know what I mean.
So Ed Gein, in some ways, Ron, Ed Gein's kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer, where they did not enjoy killing people, right? So I just kind of put this together right now. Like Ed Gein shot both of his victims, killed them immediately, and dragged their bodies back to his farm. Jeffrey Dahmer hated killing people, right? He wanted to kill them as fast as he could to get that over with, because all he wanted was a corpse. All Ed Gein wanted was a corpse. So Ed Gein and Jeffrey Dahmer have a lot in common.
See, that's really quite interesting, because there must be a demographic of serial killer that prolongs and tortures, and one where it's about the corpse, right? And I don't know why I'm just figuring and learning that just now.
Yeah. A lot of serial killers enjoy killing people. They enjoy torture.
Well, that's where your brain goes, Phil. Your brain, I think that's the most comforting place to go. I think it's more comforting to think that someone's a lunatic and they like to kill people than someone's a crazy person and needs a corpse to play around with.
Needs a corpse.
And
I always thought about that with Dahmer, the same thing with Gein. I thought about that with Dahmer when I first started studying Dahmer. I was like, why didn't he just grave rob? If he loves corpses, why didn't he just grave rob? And then Dahmer would say, I needed a fresh corpse.
Well, I was going to say, it must be about, you would want them to smell like a person.
Exactly. He didn't want to have a formaldehyde, starting to deteriorate. He wanted a fresh body.
Yeah.
And I guess Gein decided he wanted that eventually.
Honestly, there's something about a fluid-soaked mattress in a room with an old television and a Polaroid camera that just says, "Get the hell out of there!" Right? It really, really does.
Well, with Dahmer, when somebody pays you $50 to come to their apartment and take nude photos, that should be a dead giveaway, right?
But listen, $50 back then was, that was not an all right wedge of change for if you're drunk. And I'm just saying, like, you can see how he got his victims lured, right?
It's crazy, actually. But Ed Gein probably wasn't too good with women, right? So he, you think about some of the serial killers who are really good with women, Ted Bundy, and who aren't really good with women, Otto Stool. And so they approach things different. Ed Gein's not good with women at all, so he immediately just shoots him in the head, boom, kills him.
Yeah.
They're dead, and drags him back to his farm. Just think about how crazy this story is. Kills him and drags him back to his farm. That's crazy shit. This is one of the not many people have done with Ed. We're still, how many, what I say, 57, 50, 54, 57. So we're at 2025. We can't see not many people have done what Ed Gein's done. I mean, that's why it stands out. It's a very interesting case.
Listen, since we're talking about the Netflix stuff, right? The casting of Ed Gein, right? I can tell you exactly what has happened here before I can tell you exactly why. Now, first of all, this guy is an incredible actor, right? I forget his name. Incredible actor. He's a pretty boy, though, Phil. Right?
I don't know.
He's a pretty boy, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a very interesting cast. And when they started the transformation of him into Ed Gein, I'll pull up that just now.
Do you have a picture of him looking like Ed Gein? I'd love to see that.
I'm doing it right now for you. Just bear with me 1 second, please.
The guy that played Dahmer looked just like Dahmer, so I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with this guy.
So here he is as Ed Gein, right? Now, I think that I can totally see where they've gone with this, right? This is before whatever happens to his eye, I would imagine, because the eye definitely gets more emphasis as time goes on. Let me try and get you another one here. There you go. There's the eye now. He's got that kind of wonky bit down. He looks like a psychopath. in this, and when he's in character, he looks like a psychopath. All right,
but you know, Ron, let's break it down to what I preach every day. If you met Ed Gein on the street, he looks like a normal guy, and that's been like that from 1920 Albert Fish all the way to
listen. I hear what you're saying, right? But let me just throw in some algorithmic code here for what you're saying, right? Because back in the 1950s, mate, you had like two options. You had tweed, right, or this heavy coat. Like everybody fitted in because there was like everyone was beige and gray, and it was either a suit and a white collar, or a grubby out working outdoors look.
Do you
see
what I mean? Of him with his little hat that he wears? That the hat is, you have that. You put that hat picture up. Like the hat, to me, the hat is it. That's the scary thing, man. That hat, dude. Look at that. Whoa. That's what he's famous for, man.
Like, don't get me wrong. If this was 2025, in 2025, if you walk past him, you are getting the hell out of there. Man in crazy hat.
You know what the public said about Ed Gein? He's like a little kid. He's harmless. He's like a little boy.
Yeah. It's 1950, right? Yeah. 1950. Like, you don't have crazed, demented news about PDF files and serial killers. He's just the quirky guy from the town. Every town's got one, Phil. It's just now. Right?
Let's say he was strange, and when Bernice Warden's her son was a cop, he said, "I know exactly who did this. The craziest, the creepiest guy in town, Ed Gein."
Right. And like, that's the thing. And I just can't wait to see, because like I say, when you look at this picture of the dude that's playing him, who again, I forget his name, and then you start looking at him in character, this is going to be freaking awesome. Okay, this is going to be freaking awesome.
Netflix, we got to get his name.
Well, listen, the people that write these monster series have applied the Marvel Universe algorithm of how to make things a success, right? Because traditionally, right, not collectively, right, but traditionally, a lot of these stories are geared towards men, right? Marvel mainly geared towards men and boys and stuff like this. Through like a lot of the horror, the real gore, right? But see, when you cast somebody that looks like Thor in a Marvel movie, suddenly the girlfriends want to come to the movies to see Marvel too. Now, this isn't Ron's opinion. This is what Marvel said, and this is what Netflix have done with this series, and it's. I'm just so excited that it's the level of talent that.
What's his name? Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam.
Come over here. Open up my screen here. I want to show. Wendy's gonna say hello to the crowd. Come here.
Yeah,
this is my beautiful wife. She is a principal. Say hi to the crowd. This is Wendy. She puts up with all my stuff, all my serial killer stuff. Yeah. And she's been
she runs away as soon as she comes on camera. She runs off. Right, it's kind of like Wendy's thing, right, where she's in for a second, hi, and then she's out of there.
She's been to death row many times. So yeah.
Do you know what? That's the maddest thing, right? Is the picture of what the hell's what the hell was his name? Hang on a minute. Clyde Gibson. Yeah, that one. Look, why are you so far away from him and Wendy's so close? What's going on there?
You love that photo. Yeah,
I love that photo because that, I'm telling you, I would have kept an arm's distance as well. Wendy's like, my husband's here. What's the worst that can happen? A lot, Wendy. Okay.
Wendy's not afraid for some reason. She's like, these serial killers are nicer than my middle school students. So
I was about to say, she's been a teacher for a long time, and I imagine dealing with a bunch of children is just as terrifying. But I mean, that's a serious guy that you were speaking to there. I mean, he's eating parts of people.
He was arrested with the woman's breast on the console of his vehicle.
Right. Like
so Ed Gein, Ed Gein is it kind of falls in line with my new book round, where we talk about how do we create a serial killer, right?
Okay.
And it's the abusive parents. Some people are like, it's the mother, it's the father. Listen to me, it's both. It's crazy upbringing, abuse, dysfunction. Mom and dad don't love you. You're rejected. They wish they never had you. All of this plays into these serial killers, and head trauma is also a part of it. A
Okay.
lot of serial killers, Gacy, BTK, Rich Ramirez, they all experience head trauma. But it's really it's that parental thing. And Ed Gein he's exactly what we're talking about.
When we talk about head trauma, right?
Yeah,
Is a specific part of the brain that receives the trauma that takes empathy away, or like an
that's what
emotion away, or
that would be the frontal lobe. But I would just say head trauma total, because Dennis Rader, BTK, was dropped on his head as an infant. John Wayne Gacy got hit with a swing so hard he was in the hospital for weeks. Ramirez had a dresser fall and crush his head. David Berkowitz.
So a lot of them. This is super common.
Yeah, David Berkowitz was hit with a metal pipe so hard he was injured for a long time. Albert Fish fell out of a tree. I mean, so you can look at these head trauma incidents, and it's part of the deal. I don't know if Eddie had any head trauma, but we definitely know he had some crazy ass parents.
I'm blown away at the amount of head, because now I'm wondering. Now I'm thinking, like, have any of my kids been dropped on their heads? Right? Like, I'm just going through all. Like, have any of them ran into something or whatever?
My forehead got a big old scar, so I cracked my head wide open as a kid. Maybe I should have been a serial killer. I don't know.
Oh, actually, Kirsten cracked her head open when she was at the swimming pool with my mum. Fell off one of the flumes, cracked her head open.
Wendy just said Clyde Gibson told us he cracked his head open on the concrete when he was a child. By the way, speaking of Clyde Gibson,
yeah.
Every time I go to see Clyde, he makes me a gift, and this is a violin Clyde makes me. Look how amazing the detail on this.
Whoa! Go back up to the top of that. I don't think I've ever seen the wee. That is sick.
So this is made out of popsicle sticks on death row. Look closely, and I'm going to see him again here soon. He said, "I got some gifts for you." Even though he's a complete monster, right? He always gives me a present when I come see him, and it's amazing that the guy that talented ended up where he is now. Clyde Gibson, who we've just shown you, Wendy and I met with him many times. He's probably coming close to being executed. Indiana's starting to execute their death row inmates, and he kind of knows his time is short. So another thing, Ron, I've never told you. I'm next to kin to a lot of serial killers. First of all, to all you watching, I don't really tell people who I'm talking to. I don't really share a lot of that because there's a lot of people out there that they're kind of snakes, and I don't really like to, they try to mess up everything you're doing. But I talk to a lot of people, man. I'm talking to 100 serial killers right now. Yeah. And a lot of them, I'm next to kin. So like when they die, I get their body. So, the long haul trucker, Delmas Colvin, Clyde Gibson, when they die, we'll cremate them and they'll actually be in our museum. So they'll live forever.
Wow. So you technically, I could. No, listen. Technically,
I've been very sick, and I spoke all night last night. I'm going to be coughing. I apologize for that.
No, listen. Wait a second. So you make friends with the dude on death row, right?
Yeah.
He dies. You get his body, right?
Yep.
This is definitely how I'm going to start your Phil's a serial killer on Reddit. You're like the weirdest serial killer where you like find a guy on death row that's going to die, right? And then you I'm telling you, that's going to be the spin-off series of Phil Chalmers.
I don't have to kill people. I just get their bodies from death row.
I'm telling you, Phil, right? There is a dark Phil Chalmers Netflix series waiting to happen. But I mean, it's kind of awesome. I mean, people donate their bodies to science. There's actually a guy who goes around paying people. I think the last one was $65,000 he paid for someone's back tattoo. And when they die, he has them skinned, and then he goes up in his personal collection. And it is about the tattoo art, but you gotta wonder. But a lot of people do different things.
Can first of all, as we kind of talk about Ed Gein, this is Ed Gein's autograph.
Right, let me make it bigger.
That's Eddie. There's his autograph. And then this is Ed Gein's fingerprint card.
Oh, wow. Is that his mugshot up there?
Yeah.
Wow.
So one of the things I'd like to do tonight, Ron, I think you plan on doing this is just to see if anybody has questions about
Oh yeah, don't worry. We're going to get to that.
killers,
We're going to
myths
get
of
to that.
killers. Yeah, anything you want to ask. I've
Yeah,
talked to
get your
many.
questions in. I've been saving all the ones up till this point. Don't worry. But
That's pretty cool.
a few months ago, there was quite a big revelation in the Ed Gein case, right? Somebody just stumbled across a tape, and
Oh yeah,
no one had heard his voice before. No one had,
yeah,
there's basically just those photographs.
that was
So
super.
we've got a couple of clips of that I want to play.
Oh, that
just
would be
because.
great.
You work all night at that? You work all night at that? I should think you have.
That's right.
What would you do with the sexual part?
That was in.
One was painted, they said.
Oh, that one, when they died, yeah. I just put the thing over it. Is there anything like,
How did you start?
like I say, might be 4 years.
Wow, for
So
you.
there's a bunch of photographers from the newspaper who want to take a picture. You want to take a picture? No, it's not yet. So we get to straighten off.
Would you enjoy it while you were doing it?
That's the worst part of it. I really didn't then. I knew better, restless.
When you dig these graves up, you were kind of in a haze too, is that it?
That's what I could just, how you look at it.
And then one time you said you kind of realized what you were doing and you covered her up without taking anything.
That's right.
He says that's
What would
right.
you do with the sexual part?
Yeah, so you said at one part, at one time you said you kind of realized what you were doing and
Yep.
you covered her up without taking anything. And he says,
Covered her up without taking anything.
That's right.
He says that's right a lot.
What would you do with the sexual part?
They them in the box, that and then.
And what would you do with the head?
That must have been taken from reading about in these magazines and everything. Taking the flesh off like that headhunter.
wow,
See, it's the headhunter from the magazines.
there
I
you
told
go.
Desensitize myself to it. I
So Ron, you listen to this guy here. For those in the United States, he reminds me of Elmer Fudd. I don't know if you know who that is, the cartoon
A
character.
little bit. Well, this is the thing. He seems, when you hear his voice, he seems
That's
like
That's right.
like the kind of town idiot title kind of fits, right? But
He was
again,
the guy that was like childish, but he was also a little creepy, and they were like,
yeah, I mean, he definitely looks creepy as hell. The
He
high
only looks-
contrast,
he
black
only
and
looks
white
creepy
images
as
never
hell.
help.
He only looks creepy as hell because he's a serial killer. If you didn't, you'd
Nope.
be like, "Who's that old guy?"
Nope, nah, not me, not in 2025.
Come
I'd be
on.
like, no,
Yes, I
nah.
promise you. You'd be like, "Who's that nice old chap?"
Well, Phil, the work I've done, the people we've spoken to, right? Nah. The only person I know that's not a complete crazed lunatic is me. Everyone else is 50-50, 50-50. You just got to stay on your toes.
Dude,
But that's
you were
just
right
me.
there you were right up there with Ed Gein.
No,
You
listen, I am a master leather worker, right? Which is interesting. I've skinned and made many things out of living things. I do have a very suspicious concrete room under the floor of my kitchen that isn't actually on the building plans and is very dextery. But other than that, cool guy, right? Pretty laid back. Well, listen, so Ed Gein in that period in time, these crimes, I mean, you heard the way the policeman was talking to him. They were really trying to delve into what the hell was making him tick. Was there any major like forensic or police science? Was there any major shifts in how these sort of individuals were handled after Ed Gein?
Well, you and I, we started talking about this and we went somewhere else, but I want to say this to you real quick about,
Sure.
So Eddie claims he's crazy, but he knows enough never to confess to any of the murders, right? So he confessed to the grave robbing, but never, ever confessed to the murders. and the police were frustrated. So they had him back at the police department at the sheriff's office. After the sheriff saw the house, he came back and banged his head against the concrete wall, trying to get him to confess. And Eddie just, played dumb. So eventually they took him down to Madison, Wisconsin, which is, like the capital or whatever, down where the capital of the police were. And they had him on a lie detector and all kind of stuff. And even he was smart enough to know that you don't want to confess to killing people, so he frustrated law enforcement big time. They were really frustrated with him.
Which again, it kind of makes sense in 2025 to have that knowledge. But it's interesting that he had that foresight back in the 50s, and
he played it perfectly. That instead of going to a state prison for his whole life, he went to a mental hospital, which honestly, it's probably was a lot nicer life than he would have had in prison. And then like 10 years into his mental hospital stay, this is crazy, Ron. I don't know if you know this. They finally said, you know what, you are mentally ready to go to trial. We could try you now.
Wow.
So the trial for the Bernice Warden homicide, they found him guilty, and then they sent him back to the mental hospital where he died. So yeah, that was kind of weird.
So let me ask you something about isolation in cases like this, right? Do you think that isolation can play a factor as something that perpetuates this mindset in these individuals? I mean, how prevalent is isolation with serial killers?
Him being isolated from society?
Well, society, a loner. I mean, technically, you could say Dahmer isolated himself quite a lot until he was out hunting,
Well, there's not a whole lot of people that I know that were isolated, but he's definitely one of them. Another one of them is the butcher baker, the guy that would kidnap sex workers in Alaska, release them and hunt them down like game. He was kind of a loner kind of guy. But you're talking like this guy's a true loner, like he's
well, it's the fact that we had that the obsessive mother, the deliberate isolation into that woodland house, and him being left by himself. But I mean, I guess isolation, loneliness can do crazy things to anybody.
Well, there's not too many cases you can say that someone's that isolated, because in society it's not possible, right? So it's a unique case. What happens if you're isolated and your mother's crazy like that? I mean, that's what you get, right?
Oh, let me add an extra line to that. If you're isolated and your mother's crazy and she is all you know, right? If all you know is the warped world of a crazy individual who has complete control over you in a time where you're lucky if you can turn on a light bulb, let alone being connected to authorities or, child line or any of that stuff that didn't exist. So
basically he couldn't have friends. He couldn't associate with other people. He couldn't have girlfriends. He was shielded from all that. So crazy.
Let me ask you this. If this was 2025, right? Ed Gein's killed 2 people, same case.
Yep.
Would he still be branded a serial killer? And do you think that in 2025, with how society is, the level of crazy, do you think they would have even taken that into a factor in 2025?
Well, I think if he did exactly what he did today, it would still be a huge case, because he's still a serial killer. He killed 2 people, and he's grave robbing, which is strange. But you're right. They would never send him to a mental hospital. He would be sent to state prison and probably death row.
Yeah.
Because Jeffrey Dahmer was as crazy as anybody's ever been. I always tell people this: if Jeffrey Dahmer's not mentally insane, nobody is. So if you found him sane, there's no way in hell Ed Gein's going to be found sane. After Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer should have been in a mental hospital for sure. The dude was totally mentally crazy. But they found him in the United States, at least. It's very, very hard to be found mentally unstable, insane. Very hard.
Do you think the increase of television technology and how news is reported is one of the main things that changed that mindset from getting the insane into hospitals as opposed to punishing these monsters? Because I imagine if there wasn't the public outcry because of how quickly news spread, individuals like Dahmer may have ended up somewhere like it.
Right, you're right. It's the public outcry for justice that there's no way the authorities can do that anymore. They would be, well, because you know everything. I don't know, everywhere in the world, it all comes down to two things: money and fame, right? Money and fame, and power. And when you're in power and you're making money, you're going to not lose your job. So everybody's going to prison. That's just the way it works, man.
Plus, you got to look at the world that we live in now. We had Luigi Mangione, CEO of a company in broad daylight, and he's been treated like a celebrity. You know, I mean, beyond stewing women over like a hot serial killer, like it's crazy, and it's a whole different world in 2025. Now, look,
and Ron, we haven't even mentioned what's happening in the United States right now with assassinations. And I've been saying this. You and I haven't talked in a little bit, but I've been saying this for many months since, you know, Donald Trump was attempted assassinated. That I started saying that nobody is safe in the United States.
You know, I'm not going to lie.
Who you are, nobody is safe. And you know, here we are. Boom. Somebody's assassinated, and
I'm not going to lie. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Totally impacted me in a way that no other individual who I have no connection with other than their internet world has, right?
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It was very, and you know what's really crazy, Phil? What's really crazy? Today, a video popped up on my feed, right? And it was from a modern prophet on YouTube.
Okay.
And it was from 3 months ago. And the video is called "God Showed Me a Beloved Leader Falling." And he talks about a man who would stand with Trump being assassinated and it changing the world. And that was 4 months ago.
Wow.
Crazy, right? And listen, that's not the live stream that we're doing, right? But
craziest video I saw today is his wife made a video, Erica, that she's pregnant with their third child.
No, they're not. No.
Yeah. She just found out. Yeah. Pretty sad. So.
Are you? Oh my God. Okay. Right. That is unreal. Right. Unreal. Anyway, so circling back, right? We obviously know the pop culture that Ed Gein inspired. We've spoken about that. Okay. We're going to witness more of the legacy, if you will, when the Netflix series comes out. And do you think that there's modern science and technology that could have prevented Ed Gein? I mean, obviously CCTV, people, you know, being more connected would have really assisted with that. But what's the likelihood that there's an Ed Gein out there right now, Phil?
Well, you know, but go back to Ed Gein's case. The thing that fascinates me, Ron, is that he killed Mary Hogan in 1954.
Yeah.
And he was arrested in 57. So he got away with his first murder for 3 years. And so, you know, just a quick answer to that question is he would have probably been arrested after the first. I mean, the dude lives down the street. He kills the bar owner. He shoots her. They have cameras. They're like, holy shit, it's Ed Gein that killed. You know what I mean? So he'd probably be arrested after the first murder. But crazily, he gets away with it, and they don't know who it is. So going back to what you said, Ron, if he was the crazy guy in town, they never looked at him. You know what I mean? He was never a suspect until he killed Bernice Worden. So I just think I thought about that when I was looking at this case. I was like, dude killed a woman, drug her back to his farm, and got away with it. That's wild, dude.
Do you think, with him being so clever during the interrogations, do you think that if it was 2025, he would have understood the limits of what he could have achieved and stuck to grave robbing? Because,
I mean, think about that. I don't even know what the penalty is for grave robbing. Like, what if you're a grave robber and you get caught? Do you go to prison and how long? I don't even know what the penalty is for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, publicly shamed on Facebook. I mean, could you imagine?
You definitely got to go to prison for that. That's a no-no. But
well, it's defilement of a something or desecration. I think that's the religious
Yeah,
term.
desecration of a corpse. Desecration of a corpse. Yeah.
Yeah. It can't be good. It can't be good. Like, you don't want to be the guy getting caught dug up
I want to
corpses.
say this too, Ron. When this show comes out, everybody's going to know Ed Gein. Like right now, if you
I mean,
talk
we're
to
live. We're live right now. We're live right now with the people. Oh, the Netflix show. Okay, sorry, Phil.
Yeah, when the Netflix show comes out October 3rd, everybody's gonna know Ed Gein, right? So like the people that don't know true crime, we're like, holy shit, there's a guy named Ed Gein, and we're gonna be like, yeah, we know Ed Gein, right? But most people don't know. Like when you talk to most people at a bar or at a pub or at a restaurant, they know Gacy, Bundy, Dahmer. And in the UK, they know a couple of the names, the Moors murders, a couple things, just a couple names,
Sure.
but
I'm with you.
they don't know a lot of names. So in the US, they're going to die when they see this movie. And you know what they're going to think? Because I would think the same thing. They're going to be like, is this really like, they're going to ask me the questions you asked me. Like, is this legit? Like, is this real? Like, did this guy really do this shit? Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
It's going to happen here in the US in 2 weeks.
Oh, they're going to lose their mind. I mean, I've always known about Ed Gein because of the leather and the leather work, right? But never the full extent of the case. And again, it's one of those cases, right, that has so many what's, ifs, and buts for different outcomes for Ed Gein because of the path he was put on, the mother that he had, what he witnessed. I mean, you can almost imagine him and his father and the other brother being degraded by the mother for so long, and him growing up and only having his mother for affection, and imagine her being a nightmare. She then passes, him wanting to have that contact with a woman. I mean, sure, let's kidnap some of them, right? I mean,
wow.
When
you think about the Ed Gein story, you really think about what he did. Let's really think okay, so people go out and shoot people, happens all the time. But a guy where he's creeping into a cemetery, the crickets are going creaking, creak. He's in the middle he's in the dark. He's in a cemetery and he's digging and he finds he opens up a casket and there's a dead body. I mean, he grabs it and if you think about what he really did and drags it back to us, I mean, this is some crazy shit.
Well, I mean, let's take it one step further. Right? It would have to be a pretty fresh body for you to be able to drag it, right? So if he's lucky, he can drag it.
Fresh bodies, yeah.
He's targeting fresh bodies. Okay, well then that does make a little more sense. But
so I mean, Ron, he's reading the obituaries. He's like, oh, Mary Hogan just got buried.
Yeah,
there's her obituary, right? So he targets it and he finds out where she is. And when you go to the cemetery, it still has the fresh dirt on it, right?
Yeah,
so
that's still a 6 foot hole, though. It's a 6 foot hole. It's like a 6 foot by 6 foot hole. That's a workout.
But when you go to a graveyard, there's a mound of dirt, right? So he knows, there she is. So he can dig it up and put it back, and people don't even notice it. Like if you go to a grave that's been there forever, people be like, "Oh my God, somebody dug up Grandma's grave." But with this, he's targeting brand new. So you and I just talked about earlier, like even though there's formaldehyde in the body, it's pretty fresh.
Yeah.
And you think about a guy, like just put yourself in that position. You're at a cemetery and a guy creeping in there, digging up a body, taking it home. That's some creepy shit, bro. Like,
dude,
like that's what
for a start,
made of, man. That's what nightmares made of.
We could probably work out the math of his height and his weight and how long it would take to dig a hole that size.
Right.
Because this is prevalent because
all night long.
If it's winter, you've got a good chance. But then if it's winter, the ground's going to be harder. So come maybe autumn time, it's getting dark at 10 at night. So you start out then, you're digging for 6 hours. The sun's already starting to come on. It's kind of wild, if I'm being honest with you. The logistics of it all.
Another thing, Ron, just to throw this at you, what you're talking right now. This dude is tiny. He's only like 5'2" or 5'4". He's not tall. He's a little guy. How does he get a body out of the grave? How does he get a casket open? How does he do this?
Little dude, once you've met some ex-SAS guys, you'll never question a 5'2" man ever again. I'll tell you that right now. Well, listen, before we go into some questions and before we finish off Ed Gein's story, I'm going to just play a little video. Consider this a commercial break, if you will, everybody. I'm going to play you. Where's the button? First of all, that's Phil's head. I want this one. This is the trailer for Phil's up and coming museum serial killer experience, all that stuff. So
it turned into a normal hobby like taxidermy.
Welcome, true crime fans, to an unforgettable evening. Serial Killers, the experience. Tonight is an immersive experience into the world of these dangerous killers with the man who talks to serial killers, American profiler Phil Chalmers.
It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it seems to make it easier to do things you shouldn't do.
Join Phil, a 40-year veteran, as he unravels their motivations and explains why these killers do the shocking things that they do.
Everybody thinks when you do the type of stuff I done, cutting them up, and for some reason that it's because you had a bad childhood, you were molested. Just felt like it. I don't know. I mean, she caught me cutting up another one. So, and then she told me she was going to call the police.
Tonight, you will learn about many of these monsters from the realm of true crime. Some you will have heard of, some you may not have, but together we will journey with Phil as our guide into the crimes of these serial killers.
The clowning was relaxation for me. I enjoyed entertaining kids. So I'm sure it works, and you've got to have faith it'll work, or else you'll be reduced to some kind of, mumbling idiot.
Forgot that I can't remember. For instance, I can go back to my childhood and stuff, and I still remember that. But yet, I can go into the 70s, and there are a lot of things I can't remember. When you look over at the photos, I have no recollection of any of them. Never met them. They're just names and faces. And when you look at them.
Phil not only trains law enforcement and the FBI, but he is also a podcaster, a true crime writer, and a television personality. Join Phil as he teaches you about causes, warning signs, myths, signatures, MOs, and how to not become a victim.
Some people told me to do this, the normal people just don't do this. I can't stop it. It's just, it controls me.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. Serial Killers, the Experience. Please welcome your host for this evening, Phil Chalmers.
Indeedles. Well, Phil, real deal. And, just before we go on to some viewer questions, what do you think that is your sort of final closing, statements on the Ed Gein case before we go to questions? I mean, he was a one-off. I mean, the what he inspired in pop culture, all of this, it's crazy how interwoven he is and how few people may have heard of him, but have experienced the fallout of what he done, in movies and all the rest.
I would say Ed Gein is one of a kind. We don't see too many cases like Ed Gein. It's so crazy that it's like people are going to think it's not real. That's why they're going to, when this show comes out, I'm going to get 50 messages saying, is this legit? Is this real? Did this really happen? So Ed Gein is one of a kind, and there's not too many people have done what he's done, right? Even though he's only killed 2 people.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the craziest cases we've ever seen. And he's matched up against people that have killed 93 people or, 36 people. But it's such a crazy, creepy case that I don't think it'll ever happen again. And that's why these movies like Psycho. By the way, I was going to say this to you, Ron, as well.
Yeah.
Psycho's the really true. If you want to look at the movie that is inspired by Ed Gein, to me, you could say Texas Chainsaw, you could say Silence of the Lambs.
Sure.
The real movie that's inspired by Ed Gein is Psycho. And
I agree with you.
It's an amazing movie. Norman Bates, it's an incredible movie, and I would watch it in the 1960s.
Do you think though, when you say that, right, that's really the deeper meaning of who Ed Gein was, the relationship with his mother, is, that being isolated in the house, all of that.
Yeah.
But then you take that next step forward, and you've got Buffalo Bill, and you've got the Leatherface because of the mask. Those are the looser threads that connect Ed Gein to those things, But I completely agree with what you're saying there about
I think somebody would make a movie directly. Well, I guess we're going to see this in 2 weeks on Netflix, but like Psycho it's similar to Ed's story, but it's not quite like it. They obviously took their their freedoms and they created the story. But to me, the actual movie, the actual story of Ed Gein is even scarier than Psycho if you think about it. I mean, oh my God. But I love the Psycho. I love the hotel. I love the Bates Motel. That whole thing is great, man. It's scared people for 60 years now.
Yes, I mean that is a very iconic movie, a very iconic set of scenes, the shower scene, all of that kind of stuff. But I think what we should do, Phil, is when the series comes out, right, we should get everyone gathered on your channel for a recap and a Q&A. Phil, was this part real? What do you think about this part? Because, people will be astounded.
Here's what we'll do, Ron. We'll do that when the show comes out.
Yeah.
Let's all watch it on October 3rd. And then Ron and I will do a live on my channel. So make sure you're all following my channel.
Yeah, links are in the description.
Yep. And let's break it down. I want to hear from the people too. Like, what did you guys think of that? Like, was it legit? Was it accurate? Was it believable?
That's exactly it. Well, look, what we're going to do is we're going to go through some questions, and then we may post a link in the side chat and bring on some viewers in like an old school sort of phone-in style scenario.
Cool. Let's do it.
So let's go.
I got a bunch of stuff to show people. So if you, when you're ready for show and tell, I got a bunch of artifacts.
Listen, I'll be honest. This is one for me to answer, right? Trust me. Phil will be well and truly indoctored into how to seal everything off, keep everyone safe, keep the energies isolated, but baby steps with Phil on that. That's Ron's department. Okay. Interesting. Ron and Phil, have either of you ever noticed that the majority of murders take place in the month of July? What do you think about that, Phil? Is that something that you would say is a repeating pattern?
No.
Not necessarily. No?
I don't see that as a pattern. I would say it's 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
Murder knows no holiday.
Well, it's interesting because there's the facts, and then there's maybe crime statistics that are pushed.
I wouldn't want to see the statistics on. There's 12,000 murders in the United States, and 9,000 happened in July. I'd be like, holy shit, you got my attention. But
stay indoors. It's the sun. The sun in the air. Who made the violin?
What's that?
Who was it?
The violin was made by William Clyde Gibson. And if you look up William Clyde Gibson, Indiana serial killer, he had a woman buried in his backyard, and he had a woman laying naked, deceased in his garage, missing her breast. Her breast was in his pocket. He had killed a woman earlier, and she was in the river next to his house. And he claims he killed 33 people when he only was arrested for 3. So he's a cannibal. He ate body parts. He had sex with corpses, and he had body parts in his pocket in his car.
Yeah,
he's a bad guy, and he's on Indiana's death row. You can look him up, and he's got some videos out too.
It's going to sound crazy, but when you guys are done watching us here, you can literally go over to Phil's channel, and there is a interview with Clyde Gibson right here, 75,000 views right there.
Go to my channel and watch an interview with Clyde Gibson. I promise you, it's as crazy as that. Yeah. I
mean, you've got Todd Colehap in 2 parts, Chester Turner. You've got that individual Robert Beaver, the one who wanted to be the first ever mass serial killer. Started with his own family.
Ron, what are our views on Chester Turner right now?
Chester Turner, 131,000.
A lot of people were interested in the South Side Slayer, Chester Twin.
Yeah. But yeah, there's lots and lots and lots of it. By far the most interesting one is Charles Andrew Williams. I'll tell you that right now. The school shooter.
The Santana school shooter.
That is
Also,
the one.
I want you also to know I have a podcast called Where the Bodies Are Buried, and it's owned by actor Dennis Quaid of the United States, and it's called Where the Bodies Are Buried. And you can listen to 20 episodes of me interviewing 20 different killers.
And just talk a little bit about your original podcast, because you interview these individuals, and in some cases it leads to them confessing to where bodies are, and that was the premise of the podcast, right?
Yeah. So when I do an interview with a serial killer, especially a serial killer, I always have 3 questions for them. So the first question is an easy one. This is an easy lob to them. Like, anybody can answer this question. Can you tell me something you've never told anybody before?
Okay.
So this could be anything. Like, my mom touched me inappropriately when I was growing up. Okay, you've never told it. That's fascinating, right? The second question I ask them is, can you talk about an unsolved murder? Can you tell us about somebody you've killed that you've never talked about before? So I try to close a cold case. Then the third one is a big one. Is like, can you tell us where a body is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we bring some closure to some parents who don't know where their daughter is? And so those are the 3 things I ask. And leading to that, I want to say this. Ron doesn't know about this, but in my museum, I'm going to have a section of all the confessions I've gotten for unsolved cases.
Oh, wow.
And we got Dion Wade is a Detroit, Michigan serial killer that just sent me 25 confessions to 25 unsolved murders. Okay. And this will be posted in our museum. He's confessing 25 homicides, and he thinks there's closer to 30 to 35. So that's one of my passions, is to close cold cases. And we've got a ton of confessions out. I keep all this stuff quiet. I don't really release this to anybody. It's all
I'm with you.
on the down low. Because
that's the work. That's
it's what we do.
The work behind the work.
Finally, when I retire in the museum, you're going to see our work. And holy shit, we got a lot of confessions.
Yeah.
We'll share that with you. But we're about to close 25 cases to 30 cases in Detroit, Michigan.
Damn. Okay, this is an interesting one, right? So should these kind of crimes not have films made about them, since people see them and have got ideas from older serial killers? So it's an interesting one, right? Because let me get your take on that, Phil.
No, I think there's some truth to that. I think all these crime shows that we've had out, where CSI or all these, Dateline or whatever, people learn from these shows. Like, oh my God, so this guy got caught because he had this DNA, or touch DNA, or he left a fingerprint here. So yeah, I think these shows work against investigators. Yes, I do.
See, I can agree and disagree, right? I think, in fact, you know what? No one's interested in what I've got to say. We'll keep the questions. When you spend as much time researching this mentality, does your mind get normalized to it? Can you flip over?
So to ask that question a little different, like I normally get it asked, is people say, how do you sleep at night? How do you do this? And how do you sleep at night? And the way I explain it is, when I close it, when Ron and I end this interview, I'm going to continue on with my, Friday night and live a very normal life. I have a couple dogs. I listen to good music. I drink wine. I have a great wife. It's just when this is your calling or your purpose or your thing, it's kind of like I'm okay with it, right? Now, if I always tell people, I couldn't deal with animal cruelty, I couldn't deal with child pornography, I couldn't deal with sex trafficking. I don't watch videos of the cartels decapitating people. So there's things that I can't do and I wouldn't do, right? But somehow this is my thing, and I don't know. This is what God gave me to do.
I mean, I'll be honest. In the whole time that I've known you, the only thing that I would say you're desensitized to is the same thing that any other criminal investigator would be, which is the crime scene photos, right?
Yeah.
Because, dude, I mean, you've been like, hey, Ron, you can stick these in the video if you want. And then 4 hours later, when I've come out of a trauma pit, I'm like, no, Phil, not these ones, you know?
Well, it's funny. I try to so back in the days when we worked together, Ron, I try to show things. You're like, oh my God, we can't show that on YouTube. We'll
No,
be
you
banned.
can't. But
Yeah.
you got to understand, it's not from a glorifying or gore point of view. It's from you're investigating a case, you know, and that's what you do. It's the same as any policeman or agent or whatever. It's part of the course.
And I would say this: everybody in the United States. And by the way, if you're not in the United States, you should come to the United States and come to one of my trainings, my classes, my shows. But in the United States, we do an 8-hour class, and we go through all these crime scenes, and we have live calls from serial killers and school shooters. It's wild. The training, the classes, the trainings, the shows are wild, and you get a good taste of what's going on in the crime world. And
but don't worry, people. As soon as he's finished his tours and got his museum, and then his museum's up and running, we will be doing the online stuff and getting him understanding that anyway, we'll get there. So Freebie saying, who's next week, Phil? Who are we covering next week? Phil and I will be discussing some content ideas for over on Phil's channel and things like this to keep the momentum going, because he's due.
So if y'all don't know this, Ron is a huge part of what I do. He produces a lot of my content. He helps run my website. He does a lot of stuff, man. He makes me who I am. My introduction to my live show, everything I do is this guy here. So he's done a lot for me in this realm.
You make it very easy. All right.
And he's going to have a lot of influence in my museum. We're going to do some really cool AI stuff.
Yeah.
Where you're going to walk into my museum and Jeffrey Dahmer is going to start talking to you. It's going to be wild as hell.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of stuff up our sleeve, and yeah,
we really do. I mean, this is the first time we're talking about it on air, but this has been months and months and months of chitty chats and looking into technologies and, you know, how big a goddamn non-reflective monitor surface we can fit into. There's a lot. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Right. Next question here. What do you think about people who believe you're living vicariously through in contact with these? Well, see, Swims, I get what you would mean if it was just for content, but Phil only ever realized this was content when he met me. Up until that point, it's been.
Say the question again, Ron. What did they say?
What do you think about people who believe you're living vicariously through being in contact with these psychos? So, basically, Phil, do you have a weird fetish that you're fulfilling talking to these killers? Well,
absolutely not. I live a very normal life. I'm a very spiritual guy. I'm a very peaceful guy, and to me, so if you kind of know my background, I started out working with troubled kids, and that graduated to school shooters, and then eventually to mass murders and serial killers. My passion is working with troubled kids. My whole passion is saving kids and keeping people safe. So yeah, there's nothing. There are people that are like that. What you're saying, I could show you the people right now. They're like, they wear Jeffrey Dahmer T-shirts and Ted Bundy hats, and
and again, legitimately,
they change their name to like Jacqueline Bundy. I'm not into that kind of stuff, man. This is my line of work. This is my passion, and no. So the answer is no.
I mean,
vicariously do these people
for 35 years. You did this, then you met me, and it was my idea to turn it all into content. Do you see what I'm saying? So, that's if you want to point an evil finger, point it at me.
I love these questions. I'm going.
Yeah. The Moores murders were part of a dark network. That's why they destroyed all the evidence and the house. Any connections here? I mean, I doubt that the cases are connected, but the very different.
The Moores murders were a fascinating, unbelievable case, by the way.
Yeah.
And holy shit, they're right up there with the kind of stuff we're talking about today. They're infamous cases. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's a crazy ass case.
Yeah, we've done a case, and again, we talk about the golden era of serial killing. This was the first time we really seen a woman be weaponized as oh well, it's a woman, everything's going to be fine, and that's what the allure was. And that the male, I forget his name, but he to this day still, or when he was alive, would write letters to the victims and talk to them about where their bodies, not telling them where the bodies were and all of this.
Well, you had the Fred and Rose. Is it Fred and Rosemary West?
Yeah.
The Yorkshire Ripper. You guys the
Dude,
UK had cases too.
Do you know what? John Wedger is the UK PDF file serial killery sort of Phil Chalmers, right? That I know of my group of friends, right? And the way that we covered Fred and Rosemary West, and when you go into the backstory, the one thing that makes me question a lot of it is these people don't accidentally meet each other, Phil. This isn't like this isn't now, there isn't the internet. And I often wonder who brought them together, because there was an effigy placed outside Jimmy Savile's house by these two. Anyway, carrying on with the questions. Do you know if any of these killers came from multi-generational satanic ritual abuse families, and maybe their mind split, dissociative identity disorder, like in the movie Identity? So ritualistic abuse, how common is ritualistic abuse?
I would say, first of all, great question. I don't see any of that in any of the research I've done. I would love to say I know that, because I would have a section of it in the museum and all this stuff. I just do not see that. I don't see that at all. It's very rare, first of all, to see a satanic serial killer. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, is kind of rare. Like, he's drawing pentagrams on the walls and shit, making people pray to Satan when before he kills them. That's rare shit. We don't see that very often. So I would say I don't see a lot of that.
It's interesting that as a normal person, like Abundantly Empowered is, big shout out to you. We go to places like that, multi-generational SRA, but really getting dropped on your head is more prevalent than the ritualistic things like this in the past. And it's fascinating because it's such a simple, I mean, it's not a simple thing to drop your kid on its head, but I mean, we've all seen it happen,
Well, in 40 years of research, I've never seen anything like that. That would be fascinating. Like a satanic family raised their kids and they went on to become serial killers. It just doesn't exist. The only reason Richard Ramirez was killing the name Satan is his uncle came home from Vietnam and was telling him all these stories, and he was like, "Damn, that's pretty cool."
Well, do you know? I think that they definitely exist, but they're not how we would perceive it. It's elitist.
You're probably right. We don't even know.
Weird. It's weird groups that meet in barns. Honestly, John Wedger will tell you stories, and you will never look at a barn in a field ever again. Scott H wants to know. Scott H might not have been here at the beginning. Is it true there are a lot of black serial killers? Tell him, Phil.
It is true. That's what my new book's about. So check out my new book, Speaking Truth to Evil. Where the hell's my new book? And so here's the funny part. So this book right here just came out on Amazon a couple weeks ago. So most people cannot name one black serial killer, right? I want you all to think you're watching this, okay? Name a black serial killer. Let me guess. Let me tell you who you named, okay? The DC Snipers. You might have said the Atlanta Child Killer. And if you were kind of like up, what's going on, you mentioned Sam Little, who's America's deadliest serial killer with 93 victims. This is one of Sam Little's victims he drew in prison. And he's famous for drawing his victims, Sam Little. Other than that, you may not know many people. So in this book, in the back, there's a section. There's 1,036 black serial killers. So people are like, I don't agree with you, man. I don't think there's 600. Okay, so why is there over 1,000 black serial killers in my book, and you can't name any of them? That's fascinating shit.
I'll be honest.
Like, well, do you mean they're like gang members? No, man, we don't count gang members.
No, not
So there's a
gang
guy
members.
named let me give you one case in this book. By the way, if you don't know any black serial killers, if you
I
buy
do.
this book,
I know one, Delmas.
yeah, if you buy this book, you're going to have 1,000 new cases to study that you never heard of, right? So like the Brooklyn Strangler and the Taco Bell Strangler and, the Weekend Murderer, you have no idea. But there's a guy, his name's Elroy Chester, and he killed 2 people. He stabbed him to death, a man and a woman. They're lying dead at his feet. They're dying. I shouldn't say they're dead. They're dying. They're bleeding out. They're dying. And he's eating fried chicken. He takes this fried chicken, he dips it in the blood, and he eats it. His sauce is the blood of his victims. People are like, oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, that's one of 1,036 that you can read about in my new book. So it's crazy that people don't know this, but it's happening. And it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening in this country every week. We just arrested another serial killer, a black serial killer that was luring men on a sex dating site and killing them, binding them, torturing them, killing them. If you watch my Facebook, y'all had to friend me on Facebook and follow my Instagram. You'll keep up with this stuff. I post on it every week.
It's fascinating though, because we often talk about when kids go missing in the UK, it tends to be 2-parent families that get the news coverage and all of this stuff. It's interesting what demographic of crime is reported on based on race in news coverage in America. Because, you would imagine, what I see when it comes to on the news is gang culture and things like this. You don't often see serial killers standing out in that demographic at all. So
it's very rare. Like if you watch the American, here's the funny part: people from around the world, and I talked to a lot of you. You like watch the American news media, and you get whatever view they want you to have. And most of the time, just so you all know, it's not accurate, right? So you get this mass murderers and school shooters or whatever, but there's a lot of serial killers here that just doesn't get reported. And people kind of tend to think we don't have any serial killers here. We do. But you never know. So I have to do a Google search every night of multiple things to get these cases. And that's how I come up with these cases. But the cases I find are unbelievable,
what about lady killers, female serial killers?
Good question. Let's take some more questions. But so most people know Eileen Wuornos, right? She killed 7 people and people know her, but there's Belle Guinness, there's Roberta Elder killed 13, Belle Guinness killed 14, the Giggling Granny killed 11, her name's Nanny Doss. So there's many more female serial killers that are deadlier than Eileen Wuornos. Eileen Wuornos got a movie called Monster, and she's the most famous. But most female serial killers, they kill relatives, their husbands, their children, and they like to poison and suffocate and smother. And they're relatively unknown. So you got the black serial killers that are unknown, and the females are unknown.
Yeah.
The ones that really get pressed in the United States are white males. That's it.
See, this is an interesting question, right? Because when someone is sent to psychiatric hospital after a horrific crime, do you think that's mental illness, or do you ever consider the explanation such as possession or demonicness? Now, in Ed Gein, I think he's a great argument for somebody who's been demonized because of that moment where he realized what he was doing, and he didn't take anything. You see, what do you think about the possibility of that, Phil? And you can go biblical. You don't have to stay professional. You can go full biblical if you want here. Give the 2 sides of it, however you want to tackle that.
I think I've talked to a lot of guys. So these would not be cases that are known at all. This would be between me and the guys. Right. And I talked to a lot of serial killers who are I think I was possessed by a demon. I think I was motivated by Satan. A lot of them tell me that. The one that I come to is a guy named, you all can look him up. His name is Eamon Presley, Aeman Presley, Presley, like Elvis Presley. Eamon Presley is a killer from Atlanta, Georgia, who walks around at night and shoots people to death. And he would tell me stories. And I don't know if we did him, Ron, on YouTube or my podcast, but you could watch his story, And he says, I was motivated by the devil. Like I had a demon and I couldn't stop it. I couldn't fight it. And I do hear that a lot, Ron, but it's not something that I report. Like I don't put that out there like this demonic serial killer, but ironically, the question you asked is interesting. I do hear that a lot, honestly.
See, I don't think anyone who's truly demonically possessed would turn around and be like, oh yeah, I did it all because the devil made me, or I was possessed. I think it would be an emotional destruction of their realization of what they've done. Kind of like if you were really drunk and you're driving and you wake up in hospital and you find out you've killed like a family of 5 because you were drunk. Like that kind of reaction.
Though these guys are like Eamon Presley says, I'm watching a movie and I feel like there's this demon that's telling me to kill. Now, you could say it's mental illness. You could say whatever. You could explain it, however you want. But he's like, it's this demon's telling me to kill. And I finish up my Wendy's. I'm just going to say exactly what he told me. I finish up my Wendy's. I finished watching the movie 2000. I think that's what he was watching, 3000. And he says, I grab my gun and I go out to kill someone. And the first person I see, I shoot 5 times.
Yeah,
I mean, that stuff is pretty legit and real. And, whether it's real or not, this is what they're saying, right? Like, this is their report. So I don't really report that too much. You'll hear it in my interviews, but I don't really talk about it too much.
Okay, well, listen, I just want to say big shout out to anyone who likes a slice of apple and cheese because it's awesome. But the question is, did Ed Gein like apple pie with a slice of cheese on it, Phil? Do you know anything about that?
How the hell do you know that? First of all, like whoever said that.
A name like Yellow Tape. Well, the name's Yellow Tape, so pretty. I imagine pretty
holy shit! You know that you know, and you're asking that question to see if I know, and the answer is yes. Ed Gein loved apple pie with a slice of cheese. That's how they served it in Wisconsin. And let me think of where I heard that. He got that from. I think it was like right before he was arrested. He went and visited someone, he had dinner with someone, and they liked to make him apple pie with a slice of cheese. When I heard that, I thought that was strange. Like, who would want a slice of cheese on apple pie? But that is how they did it in Milwaukee. And I would say Milwaukee, but Wisconsin. Yeah. And Yellow Tape. Let's look at me. I know that you know. You're right.
And I don't know about the apple pie, but certainly slices of apple. Now, listen.
Yellow Tape. I know that you know. You're right.
The next question, Phil, right?
Yeah.
We're going to answer this one together, right? Because this was something that was really an investigation that I done with the multiple times we spoke to Delmas about long distance truck drivers and how is there a network of serial truck driver killers, right? And we got to the bottom of this, and yes, but it's almost on a scale, right? So you might have some that are into torture. You might have some that are into the R word. Then you've got some that are into actually, killing someone, and they'll get passed along. So if you pick up a working girl in Florida, drive to another state and hand her over, and then her body's dumped 15 states over, no one is checking Florida's missing people for a dead prostitute. And
so
that blew my mind.
So the answer to that question is they're not like an official group, a club that you join and get a card that you're part of the club. It's nothing like that. But there are a lot of truck driver serial killers in the United States, and there are a lot of people that know each other. So, like, for example, Ron and I talked to Delmas Colvin an awful lot. And Delmas Colvin said he knew a serial killer truck driver who came to Ohio. Delmas Colvin lived in Toledo, Ohio. The guy came to Toledo, Ohio, and he said, I would like a woman. And Colvin said, well, do you want her for the night? Do you want her for the weekend? Or do you want to keep her? And the guy said, I want to keep her. So Colvin found a prostitute, and he sold her for $500 to this guy. And he said, I had never seen her since. So there are serial killer truck drivers. There's plenty of them. And some of them know each other. But there's no network or a club or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, Delmas is an interesting one. Delmas turned around and was like, the reason I started transporting certain substances is because there was already a dead hooker in the back of the van. You know what I'm saying? Also, the only serial killer that I've ever spoken to who never woke up a single morning of his life thinking about killing someone. It was if you were rude to Delmas, right? If you were rude to Delmas. And one of the stories he told me was when you pull into a long distance truck driver's truck stop, you've got a little light outside your cab, right? And if your light's on, the lot lizards will come and knock, you know? And his light was off.
Yeah.
His light was off, right? Knock, knock, knock. Hey, honey, you looking for some action? No, thank you very much. Closes the door.
You just woke me up and pissed me off.
Three more times, this woman comes and knocks on the door. On the fourth time, he said that was it. He's like, she was dead on the floor, and he's like, you know, remember, Ron, you always want to put your dead body into a small shape so that when rigor mortis sets in, they're easier to move into bags. I'm like, all right, mate, all right. But the problem with Delmas is, if you met Delmas at a family function or a bar or a party, you would have the most hilarious conversation with this charismatic guy. You might go home and play Call of Duty. He might get annoyed with a prostitute on the way home and end up ending her life. It was mad.
Leads me to my number one thing. Most serial killers don't look or act like serial killers, and you'll never know they are. So, like, I was doing a show last night in West Virginia, and somebody came up to me and said, how can you as a profiler spot a serial killer? No, I would not. Unless they're carrying a body, no. They fit into society, and you'll never, ever know. And Ron, you would say that about UK folks too. You would never know.
Well, listen, there's no give me the demo, like the carbon copy for what the person is. But we can all dial into our animal instincts of picking up on weird stuff. Okay, people that look too long at this, or people that stare in a weird way, and all of this, you become so perceptive to it. And it doesn't mean that that person is a PDF file or a serial killer or anything like that. But it means that you're aware that their actions don't align with what you would consider normal. And I think it's very important that we all stay incredibly vigilant. And for me, serial killers aren't the biggest scary thing. Opportunistic political statement in the name of religion, all of that stuff is way more scary. I'm more scared of people just mounting the curb in a vehicle and tearing it through a crowded pavement than anything else. You know, it's those realities that scare me.
Well, what you're saying, Ron, I would agree, is that the chance of being killed by a serial killer is pretty rare. The chance of being gunned down or assassinated is becoming a lot more realistic in a mass shooting or that kind of thing. So I would just say to all of you, you have to really be careful when you're out and about, especially at big events. Be aware of your surroundings and have exits and have a plan. And unfortunately, this world is getting crazier by the minute. It's getting more violent. And honestly, to be honest with you, my wife and I, we don't go to a lot of public things. We don't go to any big concerts. We don't go to any big events. Watch it on TV. It's just as fine.
Yeah, I mean, date night for Wendy is maximum security prison and a serial killer. You know what I'm saying? It's a unique thing.
That's not true. Date night for Wendy is
absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I'm busting your chops.
Romantic restaurant.
If I say to you the gray man mindset, do you know what that means about being able to be in a crowd and not stand out and look at how you dress so that you don't stand out and things like this? I think that's the one thing that if people want to start looking at how they can become more self-aware and become less of a target, the gray man mindset is something you can all look into. And it's
in my trainings, I talk a lot about crime prevention, and in my museum, I'm going to talk about crime prevention. Let me just share one thing, Ron. So you guys can see this. This is apartment 213. So this is Dahmer's apartment, and TMZ ran a big story about, for some crazy reason, his father was selling his silverware, his cutlery from his apartment, right?
Dahmer's apartment.
Yeah, Dahmer's apartment. So if you see that spoon circled, I was like, I need to own a piece of I need to own that. So this is Dahmer's spoon.
That's Dahmer's spoon.
The TMZ article.
Whoa.
his apartment. So we're gonna have some really cool stuff in our museum where you can look and touch some history.
Freaking Chalmers spoon. That's such a weird thing to say. Such a weird thing to say out loud, if I'm being honest.
Let's get a little crazy, Ron. This is a letter from a guy named Christopher Scarver who killed Dahmer. So not only do we have Dahmer stuff, we have the guy that killed Dahmer who really talks to not many people. The stuff that we're going to have in our museum is going to be eye-opening, mind-blowing. It's going to be educational, mind-blowing, and holy shit. And so I got this new book out. This will give you guys a good insight on today's serial killers. It's available anywhere books are sold. And the museum will open this spring. If you follow me on Facebook, like me on Instagram, or get on my website, we'll be talking about that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Also, here's an interesting one. How do you deal with communication from victims' families? Do you ever get contacted by them, or is there anything that you do with victims' families? I imagine when there's cold cases and things involved, but it's an interesting question.
You know what? It's interesting you asked that because I don't get a lot of contact from victims' families. Occasionally I do. And of course, when I do, I try to, I love the victims. That's why we do this. So I'm very compassionate to the victims. And sometimes a victim's family will message me and say, can you ask Delmas Colvin why he did this? Or can you ask the serial killer why they did that? And so we do get that. But I mean, it's rare.
And I just want to remind everyone.
I would say in 4 years, I've been contacted by 5 victims' families. Not very much.
I just want to remind everybody, Phil has done this for 40 years, multiple books, cold cases that have been solved, victims that have been returned to their families. He has updated the knowledge that profilers have been studying for decades. And this isn't a YouTuber you're looking at. This is a professional who, until he met me, was dragged here to educate the public, to have us be able to interview serial killers live, to learn as an individual, not just as a journalist, but somebody who has a past in, been wanting to know how to spot the individuals that stand out. And it's so important because the ones who have no reason to be the way they are the ones that fascinate me, whether it's a predator or a killer. The ones that on paper are the same as you and me. It's just for some reason, Phil was into cars, Ron's into gaming, and Steve's into skinning people and turning them into lamps. Do you know what I mean? Why?
Yeah.
Why? And that's the one that fascinates me.
So I want to. We probably can't show any crime scenes, right? Probably.
No, let's not risk it.
Okay. Well, I have a photo here. I have a photo here of a victim of BTK. She's 12 years old. She's hanging in the basement. And I would say to all of you, if you're wonder who is Phil Chalmers? Why does he do this? This is why I do this, right?
Yeah.
There are lives at stake here. And the things that Ron and I do we're not just doing this for entertainment. I don't have time for that kind of shit, man. We're out here trying to save kids, stop predators, stop serial killers, and try to make a difference. And so if you guys like what you see tonight, man, get involved and, make a difference. And that's what we're trying to do, to try 100%. To educate people, to try to, bring these people into custody, to try to expose evil. That's kind of what we're doing. And Ron does stuff. I love his work. I'm doing some stuff. There's a lot of people in this game, and we're all trying to make a difference. So anytime anybody has any questions, they can go to my website, philchalmers.com, and you can message me and you can email me. And I do respond to all of my emails. If you go to Facebook and send me a friend request, I'll accept it. If you message me, I'll respond. If you like me on Instagram and send me a message, I'll respond. And at this point, I do have time to do that. So, anything you guys need from me, I would love to communicate with you and help you out any way I can.
And if you didn't love Phil enough already, tell him about the deaf dogs. Come on, Phil.
I have 2. When can you bring me a deaf dog? I have 2 deaf dogs. So Ron remembers Daisy. She's my big old white boxer.
Yep.
And my wife loves to adopt deaf dogs. So we have 2 deaf dogs that can't hear a thing, and they know sign language. So
there's Daisy.
This is Daisy. This is
There
the,
she is.
she's 100 pounds. Now
Oh.
that watched Ron in the past, we have a new pit bull, right?
Yep.
This is our little pit bull. She was born deaf.
Oh
Her
God,
name is
look at her.
Lily, and she can't hear.
Oh, yeah.
She can't hear Ron's craziness. She can't hear a thing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So we Wendy has a son that has some hearing issues, and so it was kind of cool. We adopted two deaf.
Oh, that's awesome.
They were both going to be euthanized, and they both know like 30 signs, so they know all American Sign Language, which is pretty cool. So go
Dude,
adopt
you know,
a dog this weekend. That would be you want to make go adopt a dog. And Ron, you got a cool dog too.
Well, I did have Thor passed away last year. Sadly, he's
that's right. Thor. Yeah, you had a Thor, your buddy Thor.
Yeah, man. He passed away.
Are you gonna get a new Thor?
Yeah, I am. I am looking at Thor's currently in a shrine right there. He's got all his favorite things on his little shrine there. But yeah, I was this close to getting a new Thor, and then the woman who was selling him just sold him after she said she would keep him for me. So now I was on the cat and dog home the other day, and there was a 12-week-old Belgian Shepherd female dog, which I was thinking about, but then I don't really want a girl dog. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember that Thor. I know you guys were really sad when Thor passed away.
Yeah.
We would die, but you gotta have a dog, man. You gotta have a dog.
Yeah. Oh no, I feel it. Thor was way more than a dog from a magical and religious point of view. He was one of the boys' point of view. All of that. And it's everything that I'm getting is telling me that it's got to be a white German Shepherd, or that's basically because he was all black. So for him to come back all white, I think would be quite cool. But also corgis. I've been looking at corgis because they kind of look like a German Shepherd's head on a Jack Russell's body. Adorable. But look, listen.
Wendy just said there's nothing wrong with the girl. We have two females.
Well, no. Listen, I remember growing up, and my mum had spaniels, and they would go into season, and it was just trauma everywhere.
When you said you fix them, we're gonna fix you. We're gonna fix you.
Listen,
we're coming to the UK to fix you. We're gonna fix you.
Thor, please do. Thor, I never got him. He had his balls right up until he got testicular cancer, basically. I couldn't do it. I couldn't walk into a vet and hand over money and be like, I told him he was going to Disneyland. He's going home without any balls. Nah. So you just got to raise him well.
Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Message me if you need my help. And I hope you guys come out to our museum and see my live tour and check out my new book.
Yeah, 100%. All Phil's links are down in the description. Thank you all for being here. Okay, now usually on a Friday night, I do something over on my channel. That's probably going to happen tomorrow night. I'm exhausted. Thank you so much for being here, Phil. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the Shaun Attwood channel. Thank you to all of you. Please like, please subscribe. Stay tuned for more. And for me, Ron Swanson, as always,